gotta cool down after that. You know, I just gotta decompress.
That frenetic pace, all those yards.
Sometimes, you know, there's next week will be an emotional week, and there've been other emotional weeks, and sometimes you can't have the emotion.
I was listening to James Franklin's post-game press conference. I was in there, and some reporter asked him about being flat, and I don't know that he necessarily agreed.
What do you think? I'll ask you. You give me a straight answer?
I've seen them a little bit more engaged.
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, this was what Ray Perillo used to call a taffy pull. I don't even know if you'd call it that. I mean, what was the offense? 234 yards for Rutgers, 322 for. It was probably fewer yards per play than any Penn State game this year.
They kind of gummed them.
Yeah.
Gummed them down.
Fewer thrills per play than any game this year. I noticed that they took, what is the name of this place?
HighPoint.com Stadium.
Solutions. There's no more solutions at Rutgers. It's just
they're out of solutions.
It's a pathetic case. Anyway, Penn State came out pretty flat. They were going through the motions. They just kind of, what was it at halftime? 13-0. And they barely got to that point. It was 10-0, 13-0. And nobody was into it. And you don't even really have to be into it to beat this team. Rutgers' offense is as bad as anything I've seen in the Big Ten in a long time.
The one thing I would say maybe in Penn State to possibly counter that would be that I don't know if it was the case that they weren't into it as much as their passing game was just misfiring. From the very first play, Trace had KJ Handler across the field for a touchdown. He threw it behind him. KJ said it was his fault that he has to catch it because it touched him. But
no,
that was going to be a touchdown. Yeah. And if they score on the first play, it could be 66-3 like we saw at Maryland last year. But they were just sporadic in the passing game for too much of the game.
There was another wheel route down there for the touchdown. You remember that?
Yeah, and it was just it's not really windy as we talk about it. I don't think the conditions had anything to do with it. But he was 17 for 37. He did more damage probably with his legs. He did throw 2 touchdown passes. Trace did to Pat Freiermuth, but it was just I don't know if they really haven't had a go-to wideout like Deshaun last year. But it's just showing up. James talked about the fact that it's just not clicking.
I don't think people on TV can see the whole field like we can most of the time. You can see that Trace is standing back there. What you can't see is these wideouts still are not getting the separation, and I don't care what anyone says, they're not running routes very effectively. I don't think. What do you think?
I mean, KJ can get open, but when they are open, Dave, sometimes the passes aren't where they need to be.
That's true.
And I think that's been James acknowledged it. I think that's really had an effect on the offense more than anything. It was Trace's 30th career win, most ever by a Penn State quarterback. They got a senior day coming up, and we should probably talk about the defense. The front four is very good. Micah Parsons made his first start. Definitely not his last start. He
some sort of problem with Cam Brown.
Yeah, he was disciplined for a half. But I mean, Micah, it was only a matter of time before Micah was a starter. He's on the field almost all the time. You saw him affect the game on a blitz today, where he got a sack and a forced fumble. I mean, it's just only the beginning for him. He is going to be. He's going to be a very good player, much like Etor is now at Penn State.
Something funny happened in the post-game press conference. We're waiting for Franklin to come in, and we're all watching the Maryland-Ohio State game on our phones and our laptops, naturally, because it's the end of regulation, then into overtime, and Franklin came in, and he wanted to watch it as much as we did. He coached at Maryland.
You guys were kind of side by side for a little
bit.
Well,
he came over and watched on my phone and who was it? Derek Lavars's laptop.
Yeah.
And we watched that game for about 4 minutes till it went to overtime, which was a little kind of a human moment. Anyway, people are human. They're not going to get up for games like this. It's not going to happen. And what I said in the 5 boxes this morning is you just get through it, win the game, take the bus home. That's what they did. So Maryland next week at Beaver Stadium for Senior Day. Until then, adios.